I am never going to be like my dad. My dad was this, he was that, he was abusive, he was horrific, he yelled at me, he beat me, he did this. The pain that we don't deal with and we don't heal, we are going to pass it down, whether we want to or not. I know it's shocking, right? It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like I don't care what you've been told about what it means to be a man. Tough it up, suck it up. Don't talk about your feelings. Don't be affectionate with your kids. No, you can still be masculine, still be a man, but have high emotional IQ. You understand the feelings that you have and why you have them, and you can clearly communicate them. You can also. So I have a quote for you guys, and it's this. And when I first read this quote, it gave me the chills. Unhealed wounds in fathers equals unseen damage in our kids. If you've been tuning in for the past couple of weeks, you know that I am dedicating the entire month of May for our Friday show to the Netflix series Adolescence. It's become wildly popular. And by the way, if you're listening to today's show, and if you know anything about the past 2 weeks, I am talking all spoilers in this particular series. So if you don't want any spoilers, I would highly encourage you to hit the pause button and come back to this episode after you've watched the Netflix series Adolescence, which, by the way, has become the third most watched docuseries in Netflix history, trailing only behind Wednesday, which that one really surprised me, and also Stranger Things season 4, which, by the way, I'm a huge fan of. My kids got me into Stranger Things, which was really, really awesome. We are talking all things, though, adolescence in the month of May. Past couple of weeks, I've really touched upon what was going on, why things have happened, the bullying that Jamie, the 13-year-old boy that's portrayed in the series. And just to recap a couple of things, this is a family of 4, right? Eddie is the father, right? Played by Stephen Graham. He's a plumber. He's a business owner, very busy guy. It's not the fact that he's not a good dad. He's not equipped. He's not equipped because he is dealing actually with his own wounds that he never actually dealt with from his own father. And that's what I'm actually going to be addressing on today's podcast, which is how do we break generational patterns? How do we break generational abuse, right? Even if it's sneaky, even if we think we are breaking it, we might not actually be breaking it. So today we're really going to touch upon our wounds as a father and how it actually impacts our kids and basically our emotional availability for our kids. So it's all about today, the wounds that we carry and how our unhealed past can actually impact our relationship with our own kids, and we don't even see it coming. So if you've ever said out loud, I am never going to be like my dad. My dad was this, he was that, he was abusive, he was horrific, he yelled at me, he beat me, he did this or that. Here's what I'll tell you. The pain that we don't deal with and we don't heal, we are going to pass it down, whether we want to or not. I know it's shocking, right? It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like I was treated poorly. You know, I've never really gotten through it, but I know I'm not doing that. I know I'm not doing that to my own family. Trust me when I say it's sneaky. And if you ever need a living example of this, go watch this Netflix series because you can see it. Eddie, like I said, who's portrayed by Stephen Graham, who is the father of Jamie, a 13-year-old boy who commits this awful, heinous murder of a classmate. He's a good dude. He's a good man. He has a good heart. He wants to be a good father, but he is completely and totally unequipped for this. In fact, all of his priorities to go out and create more revenue for the family, which is important, but it's not the most important thing. And he's emotionally unavailable for his son. He just goes through the motions and he has surface level conversations and never really fully understands what's going on. And he thought the good was good enough. He has no idea how to connect with his son on an emotional level. And here's what I'll tell you. If you're a man listening to this show, I don't care what you've been told about what it means to be a man. Tough it up, suck it up. Don't talk about your feelings. Don't be affectionate with your kids. No, I'm sorry to say there is actually a balance. There's a dichotomy. You can still be masculine, still be a man, but have high emotional IQ. You understand the feelings that you have and why you have them, and you can clearly communicate them. You can also clearly communicate with other people about their feelings, and you don't feel overwhelmed by their feelings and their emotions, by their big emotions. A lot of times us dudes, man, and trust me, I get it. I used to be there too. There are times I still am. But when big emotions come my way from my kids or my wife, it's like I just want to tamper that. I sometimes I want to shut it down. Sometimes I just want to solve it so we don't have to deal with the pain of it and that kind of thing. But that's really, really not is what's needed a lot of time. What's actually needed is validation and connection with your kids, right? And that is a masculine trait, to be able to connect with your kids. right? On an emotional level, a physical level, all of these things is a manly, masculine thing to do. If you don't believe me, ask your kids if they want any affection from you. If they say no, well, then maybe our definition of being a man who's unaffectionate, maybe that's true. It's not. So ask your kids, is it meaningful when I hug you? Is it meaningful when I put my arm around you? Yes. Is it meaningful when I communicate with you about whatever it is that you're going through, whatever emotional state you're going through? Yes, it is. But most of us are unequipped, especially if we've been wounded by our own fathers. So let's talk about this a little bit. Eddie finds himself, the father, completely and totally unprepared for what has happened. And he is trying to understand, how did this even happen? And in the very last episode, this is what got me. This is what really nailed it, like really got me. The last 15 minutes or so of the very last episode, I couldn't sleep. Because picture this, if you haven't seen it, and maybe you guys know if you have seen it, but Eddie is sitting there, and I'm pretty sure they were in Jamie's room. And Jamie's been in jail now for, I think, a year. And his father just got off of a phone call with Jamie from the jail cell. And Jamie told him that he's changing his plea from not guilty to guilty. And you can see that this just unravels his dad of like, wow, this just got really real. Like, I knew my son did this heinous crime, but we were going to try to get him off and get him out and, and like have him back home. Well, now there's no hope for that. No hope for that. He's going to spend time in jail, a long time in jail. And he's sitting on the bed talking to his wife, Jamie's mom, and they're trying to make sense of this whole thing that's happened. Their son, who is a good boy, right? Never really did anything wrong. His grades were okay. Spent a lot of time in his room. Never really disrupted anything. Never did anything to cause any harm to anybody else. Suddenly snaps and kills a girl in his class. And they're just trying to make sense of all of this. And there's this part at the last episode, the very last 15 minutes, where Eddie is on the side of the bed and he's just like, I don't understand how this happened. Like, he's a good kid. He's a good kid. He got great grades. Like, never really did anything wrong. We hung out. We had some fun, right? I mean, I didn't raise him like my old man raised me, which my old man beat the hell out of me. My old man would beat me sometimes so hard that I felt like I couldn't get up. I would never do that to my kid, ever. I always thought like, being good was good enough. Maybe it wasn't. And then you see it hit him. You see it all come crashing down. You can actually see when this man realizes that he was totally unequipped for this, that he didn't see it coming, that he didn't have the skills, that he didn't have the know-how. He didn't even have community. I never even saw any of this guy's friends. Like, did you guys see any friends that were, or a tribe or a community that just was helping this poor guy through this horrific deal? This guy was shouldering all this stuff by himself. And then he's trying to figure it out. Then he realizes, wait a second, there was a lot left on the table. There was a lot left on the table. In fact, maybe I didn't know my son nearly as well as I thought I did. I labeled him as like this good kid who didn't cause any problems, but because of that label and because I didn't connect with him and understand his world and what he was going through, like suddenly I realized his world was crashing down and collapsing right there in front of him, and he had no one to talk to. But I could have been that guy. I want you guys to think about this for a second. Have you ever been in a situation as a kid and you felt completely alone? You could not tell your parents for fear of what would happen. You couldn't tell friends. You literally just were isolated. On the flip side, I want you to think about how amazing it felt if you had a parent that just created space for you. There was like no judgment, would talk to you, would guide you, would lead you, take you by their side. Hey man, no, dude, I got you, man. Like, hey, you want to talk about this? Let's talk about this. Let's talk about solutions. Let's talk about how you're feeling about this. Let's talk about a game plan. Like, tell me everything that's going on, right? And I'll tell you, that is the definition of a man. A man who can be a masculine man, a father who can create space for his kid to talk openly, without guilt, without judgment, just to be able to talk and unload and unpack. Like, having that man in your life, what a gift. And here's the great thing. Here's the great news. You and I have this opportunity to give this gift, but we have to be prepared for it. We've got to prep ourselves. We don't go into a jiu-jitsu tournament without taking jiu-jitsu, right? You do that, you're going to get your rear end handed to you at that tournament, just like Eddie did in this situation. Or we can learn, we can train, we can roll, we can do 6 months of hard jujitsu and then go compete. And then we're a little dangerous. We can be competitive. We know what we're doing. Well, fatherhood is no different. Connecting with your kid is no different. Emotional connection with your kid is no different. I guarantee, take this story, this Netflix story. Had Eddie learned just a few things around how to connect with his son, how to have better conversations with his son, how to validate his son, how to extract information that Jamie, quite frankly, didn't want to tell him because maybe he didn't feel safe to do so, but he desperately wanted to. If Eddie would have learned that, I guarantee, I mean, no one can guarantee, but I feel really good about saying, I guarantee that this wouldn't have happened. I really, really feel that way. The chances of it happening would have been considerably less, right? And by the way, if you don't believe me, go Google fatherless home statistics. The statistics will rattle you. They're mind-boggling. It's like 92% of incarcerated individuals come from a fatherless home or a father that quote unquote wasn't really present. This story definitely hits that home, right? So let's talk about this. Why do men avoid doing work like this? And I'm talking about the guys who are dads now, me, you, and all the other dads out there. Number one, cultural messaging. Suck it up and be a man. I'm sorry to say that's bullshit. Okay. That is absolute bullshit. Now, I don't think that any of us should be like an estrogenic sponge of like complaining and it just, that doesn't feel good to me either. However, this cultural messaging of suck it up, the number 2 cause of death for men between the ages of 25 and 52 is suicide. So this whole message of suck it up and be a man, it ain't working so well. Now, truth be told, there's a time and a place to tell a guy, hey dude, suck it up and move forward. Come on. However, I don't think that that should be the rule. I think that that should be the exception, that you can use that and you should use that from time to time. However, that message gets really, really blurry, right? When a guy is in absolute hell, right? That message of suck it up and be a man, because his response is, well, shit, I can't suck it up right now. I'm in hell right now. I guess I'm not a man. And if I'm not a man, maybe I don't bring any value. And if I don't bring any value, maybe I shouldn't be here. And boom. That's the rationale. So this whole thing of like suck it up and be a man, yes, there's some truth to it. But it shouldn't be the answer to every freaking question out there. If you are surrounding yourself with a man who has no other advice but to suck it up and be a man, here's the deal. Find a new friend, number 1. And number 2, that guy does not have the know-how to tell you what to do. And that's all he knows how to tell you to do. And it ain't going to work. There's no strategy in that one. The other one is this. A lot of us are in survival mode. Take Eddie, for instance, right? I mean, that guy was like in fight or flight. High pressure business owner, trying to deal with his own wounds. You can't process the past if you are trying to survive the present. It's just not going to happen. You have to remove yourself from that grind just a little bit to process through any healing that you need to go through. So survival mode is not going to work. Sometimes you need to extract yourself out of survival mode. Go get some therapy. There's nothing wrong with getting therapy, guys. Like, I've been in therapy for 3 decades. And I'll tell you, I don't go all the time. I mean, there's times I go like twice a year. But if I get into a situation, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to go talk to somebody smarter than me. It's insanely empowering to do that. And our egos like to protect us and be like, you don't need to do that. Well, I'm sorry to say that when I go into Lowe's, I don't want to look around for something. I'm going to go find that person with the blue vest and be like, hey man, where are the screwdrivers at? Aisle 16. That's where I'm heading. Give me the fastest way to get through something like that and ask for advice so I don't have to beat my head up against the wall trying to look for something and trying to figure it out on my own. Therapy, coaching, it's well worth it. Another one that stands in our way is fear. We're terrified. I don't know about you, but I mean, you guys know my past. You guys know how crazy it is. There is a big part of me still to this day that sometimes I don't feel like unpacking that stuff because I'm like, man, if I talk about that stuff, that's going to be tough. I don't like that. So there's fear. Then there is false beliefs. False beliefs show up as, well, that's the past. It doesn't affect me today. And I guarantee that's what Eddie was saying. It's the past. I'm not doing that stuff. It does. It will absolutely show up. So how do we do with this? I'm going to give you guys 3 practical tools that will help you with healing. Number 1 is name it. Okay. Reflect on your story. Name what emotions come up for you. Like when I look back on my childhood and see some of the horrific things that were happening, I'm pissed. I'm upset. I don't like it. Right. And it's okay. Like I didn't like that. I'm angry because of that, or I'm hurt because of that. Whatever. It's fine. I'm naming it. Name it for what it is. I'm not going to turn my back from it. It's actually really empowering to name it for what it is. Second step is to face it. Say out loud how it felt, what it did to you, how you feel about it. Get very, very detailed. Write a journal entry on it, right? How do you feel about this thing? And then rewrite it. Rewrite it. Think of it this way. What would have been like if your dad would have been able to name what he was going through, face it, and purposely and intentionally rewrite how he was going to go about fatherhood and heal his own wounds so he could be a better dad for you? What would that have been like? It's inspiring, isn't it? Well, guess what? If you're listening to this podcast, that's probably one of the things you're already doing. So congratulations. That's awesome, right? The more we learn as men, husbands, and fathers, the better we're going to be. The better we're going to be. And I think you guys know we got one shot at this whole thing called fatherhood. And after that, man, it's over. It's over. I'm really, really interested in never, ever leaving one thing on the table when it comes to this life, my marriage, my kids, my legacy, and the things that we taught them. I'm not willing to do that. I refuse to leave anything on the table. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably in the same boat. You refuse to allow anything to get in your way. And I'll tell you, you guys have heard me talk about the alliance. This is the kind of guys who are in this, the guys who are hungry, the guys who are leaders, the guys who are rewriting the story in their relationships, in their family. They're rewriting it. They're doing the work. And you guys have heard me talk about the alliance. We have the alliance. We don't take everybody, guys. We don't. You've got to apply. You have to show us that you want to do this work. We don't just put a checkout on the landing page of like, yeah, join our program. It's $97 a month for the alliance. There you go. Join it. No. We want to know that you are eager, that you have a deep desire to do this work, and most importantly, why? Why? Why is it important to you? That's why we have you fill out an application. That's why we have you talk to somebody. It's a lot of work for $100 a month, but you know what else is a lot of work? Is putting the wrong guys in our program. So I've got to know, we've got to know that you're serious. And guess who else needs to know that they're serious? You. You need to know you're serious. If you're not serious, if you get through that application, you're like, well, maybe we weren't that serious yet. That's okay. Everybody reaches a point, I think, in their journey where they're just like, okay, I'm done trying to figure this out on my own. And that's okay if you're not there yet. We'll always be here. So 2 different programs. One is the Alliance. And for all my badass businessmen out there, business owners, the boardroom is for you. Head on over to thedadedge.com/mastermind, where we don't leave anything on the table. None. We ain't going to be like Eddie. And we sure as heck aren't going to have situations like Jamie. We are going to do whatever it takes to not only avoid a ridiculous situation like that, but to make our lives fruitful, better, and better than the last generation. And if you're listening to this show, that's your goal. And I know it is. No more talk from me, gentlemen. I hope you have a great weekend. Tune in next week. We're gonna be doing one more segment on this whole thing of adolescence. We're going to knock the cover off the ball next week, so make sure you tune in next Friday. Until then, gentlemen, go out and live legendary. Take care.